Come on. There we go. Okay. Okie dokie. Let's grab this chat window and slide it over to the other monitor. Stretch it out. And change that to live chat. Lovely. Okay. And main screen. There you go. Hope you folks are doing well. I spent a portion of time yesterday afternoon updating my software on this machine. I was still using the old version 15 of Mac OS, and I finally updated to the new the new version of the software, which they now called version 26. I did not skip 9 editions. It's just they decided that last year they decided that all the software from all the operating systems from all the different things are going to be 26 because it was going to be 2026, and then next year it'll be 27, and that way it's just going to be easier. So I did the update, but now I feel like my microphone isn't quite right. I don't know. I feel like the noise canceling isn't canceling noise as much as it should. So I'm going to have to mess with that. Luckily, I'm not recording a podcast tonight. I'm instead editing the podcast this afternoon. So, but for right now, hopefully it's working okay. Let me see. John Hollick says, hello from Union County, Georgia. Registration for Adepticon starts today. It's true. Starts this afternoon or lunch or sometime today. Go take a look at their website. You'll find out if you're interested. Look forward to meeting you there. I'll be there. Let's see here. Hell yeah, some Blackout. Nice. Maternal Pillow says, first time I've heard of Blackout, and yeah, definitely buying it. It's a fun game. I enjoy it. The models are awesome. I don't know. I've been enjoying it, and I'll talk about this a little bit later, but I played some yesterday, and I've already been 3D printing some buildings that I want to use for my own Blackout board. Later this afternoon, I'm going to print some more. I'm going to take a building I've already printed, and then if I can figure out how to do it, which I'm sure I probably can, in the software, in the slicer software for the Bamboo Lab, I'm going to mirror the building, so it's like the same building but like flipped. You know what I mean? And then I'm going to add different stuff to it so they look like 2 separate buildings. It's I don't know if it's cheating, but it is definitely using all parts of the STL. Let's just say that. Good time of day from a finally not freezing south of England, working on finishing my epic warpath. Love me some tiny toys, indeed. It's below freezing here today. I don't think it's going to get above freezing, but it will the next couple of days. It's kind of messing with me because it's been slightly warmish, not warm, but warm for Wisconsin in January. And I want to make this video about rattle can priming when it's like really cold, and it just hasn't been really cold. So hopefully maybe next week, I think I'm going to have to switch up what I'm planning on for this week's upcoming video and do something else, which I've already started working towards, so I don't think it should be a problem. But if you don't like the weather in the Midwest, just wait a minute. Good morning from Calgar. How you doing? Nick Butler. Hello from Chile Horsham, Sussex, UK, where it's time for the workshop seasonal tidy and clear out. Man, I need one of them myself. Rod Wonder, good morning. I'll check this out. Nice. Birdman, hello from Southern Connecticut. Kit bashing a Morkanaut from Dungeons and Lasers parts. Nice. Spare Gundam kits and cardstock. Very cool. That blasted Samoflange. Morning from Southern Ontario. Assembling and printing the last few pieces of my vast and verdant jungle terrain Kickstarter. I'm not familiar with that. Interesting. Good morning from Chile, Oklahoma. How you doing? Morning from Quebec, Dragonfire. Howdy. Good morning from Chile, Middle Tennessee. Howdy all from Check's Scorecard Looks Out Window. Sunny, Jonesboro, Illinois. It's alternating between cloudy and sunny here too. So we'll probably see some lighting changes during the show. Good morning from Cleveland. How you doing? Sarnia, Ontario. Wirehead. Howdy. I got a friend moving back to Sarnia. Have a magical morning from Molly. Well, there you go. Morning from kinda snowy Elkhart. Looking forward to hearing about Blackout while I'm stuck at work. Nice. Morning all from a chilly Columbus, Ohio. Are there any seats left? There are. There definitely are. Let's see here. South Ontario. How you doing, John Ashley? Clearwater, Florida. Let's see. Warsaw, Poland. Lots of Ontarians in the chat, it feels like. Nice. Another Columbus, Ohio. And there we go. Afternoon from the French Alps. We finally got a bit of snow, perfect for catching up on my moonstone. Pile of shame. Nice. A little brisk in Arizona, but still shorts and hoodie weather. Yeah, I would think so. Going from Quebec City, still kit bashing Necromunda stuff. Fun. Eric Lyons, how you doing? William Edley, how you doing? Let's see here. I had the skip terror. Yeah, so we have whatever it's called, Premium. We have YouTube Premium, but I have two accounts. I have like my personal account and I have my Tabletop Minions account, and Premium's on my personal account. So when I'm logged in and trying to stream, every once in a while when the stream starts, it shows me an ad, of course, which is fine. I just had to be smart enough to mute it and then, all that stuff. Sound is a bit echoey. Really? See, I can't hear it. That's a bummer. Yeah, I'm gonna have to figure it out because it's weird. The software for the microphone, if I stop talking, it completely flats out and it says that there's no mic output. It's at -70 dB. But when the furnace was on before, that thing, the mic output thing would say, oh, there's no output, but OBS would still be like, a little tiny output because it can hear the furnace running. Well, now the furnace has stopped. But I still see little bump. I don't know what happened. So I'm going to have to figure that out. But I'm sorry about that. I've been thinking about getting a new microphone anyway, but this one mostly works fine, but I don't know. I feel like I should probably get something that's the thing about getting the same one that Vince has, actually, which is one of those. It's a Shure. It's not the SM7B, but it's the maybe SM57 something. I don't know. It doesn't have to be XLR. It can be USB as well. So sounds like I'm at the bottom of a well. Well, that's not cool. Because it should be coming out of this mic. But I don't understand what would be the problem. Let me do... I don't know if that helps at all. Probably not. I don't know. So I apologize in advance. Let's see here. I was the guy running the Blackout demo at Tundracon yesterday. Oh, nice. Good to see you. It was good talking to you and Sam. Yeah, we had a good time. So yesterday, Sam and I went to a very small little convention here in town called Tundracon. And it's a miniatures convention and is predominantly more historical stuff. But there was some other stuff going on there. Blackout was one of them. And also there was, initially we thought it was a giant game of Battlefleet Gothic because it used ships that looked kind of like Battlefleet Gothic ones. And I think they must have been big giant 3D prints. But they were actually playing Warfleets by one-page rules. So, and then there was, let's see, there was a bolt action tournament. There was some Middle-earth strategy battle games. There was a guy that was running a game called... All Quiet on the Martian Front, and it's like War of the Worlds, and you got the big tripods and people fighting against them with tanks and stuff like that and everything. So yeah, interesting. Yeah, but it's a little show, and the main reason I went was because I saw on the website that they were going to have Blackout demos, so I wanted to go and check that out and got to talk a little bit here, so that was very cool. Let's see here. Looking forward to Adepticon registration from a cloudy, coldish Milwaukee. Mike is off for sure. Oh, that's a bummer. Good morning from Hudson, Wisconsin. More room sound reverbier than usual. This drives me. And every time someone's like, yeah, it's broken, it makes me... Yeah, so I don't know what to do about that. Like noise suppression is set the same. I don't know. I can lower... What if I lower mic gain? But now it gets quiet, doesn't it? Mic gain? Is that? I don't know. Well, I don't know. We'll figure it out, I guess. I'll have to listen to it and mess with it and screw it all up. Or unscrew it all up later on. I'm unfortunately going to be able to do it right here live. This is the problem with live streaming, folks. So sorry about that. First time catching a live stream? Well, good to see you from Winneconne. Let's see here. Hudson, Wisconsin, how you doing? Uncle Adam in chat from Santa Cruz, finishing the Alpha Strike box today. Nice. Morning from Spokane, picking up some Heretic Legion while I hang out with you today. Painting up some Heretic Legion. Nice. Yeah, there wasn't any Trench Crusade there yesterday, which I understand. It's still relatively new. And the folks at that convention, I feel, are... Like I said, it's generally a bit of an older crowd. But it was still... It wasn't just straight historicals and stuff like that, which I like seeing. So... But there was definitely some like Napoleonic-y looking stuff going on here and there too. So we are unreasonably warm here in North Carolina last week, and I primed a lot of terrain in a big 3D printed mech from Temu for Chrome Rangers. It's printed in filament with layers on show, but it'll do. Sure. I mean, you know, like that'll happen as far as like because I wanted my robots to be relatively quicker to print, they were certainly. They are a little bit, if you get close to them, you can see the stripes, the striations a little bit more, but yeah. Working on my game Red Jungle. I have a ton of respect for you and Vince for writing multiple games. It is quite a task, worth the work. Keep up the great games and content. I appreciate that. Yeah, we're still, the game that's going to be coming out in the spring, it'll be coming out at the end of May, is written. And it is now going through second or third round, I believe, of playtesting. And the podcast, so we have a podcast, Vince and I. Vince and I have a game company. It's called Snarling Badger Studios. We also have a podcast, and the podcast is called The Snarlcast. And it is about indie games and indie game design. And it comes out every 2 weeks. And another one's coming out tomorrow morning. And in that one, we talk about a bunch of different things, but we kind of talk about, how we, the process, but we talk about all kinds of different things too. Last episode was about psychographic profiles. Psychographic profiles are, you've probably heard this before, maybe sometimes talking about in different games, that there are different types of players. There's Timmies, there's Johnnies, and there's Spikes. And Timmies are more about cool things happening in the game, and they kind of don't care about like whether who wins or loses. And on the other end of the spectrum is Spike, it's like, well, it's a game and you win it. That's the point, that kind of thing. And it's an interesting, it was an interesting conversation. But in this one, we were talking about, how we do our process a little bit. We also talked about how we are expanding our playtesting team a little bit. We're still not doing an open playtest kind of thing. That's probably never going to be in the cards. But we are definitely, we do have a small group of other people who are now also going to be doing playtesting. So that's why we're like in the third round or whatever of playtesting. So, excuse me, that'll be fun. Now the sun has come out. The sun will come out intermittently. Mirroring and Slicer is brutally easy. I'm assuming it is. I just don't know what button to hit, so I'm going to do that. Good Good afternoon from South Africa. Really excited to be catching you in the first live stream of the year. Well, I appreciate that. Glad to have you. Morning from Topeka, Kansas. First time I played Blackout was at TMX last year. Great game. Well, I appreciate it. This month, soon-ish, I will be updating the TMX website. Right now, the TMX website does have the right date. He said, not 100% sure that I'm right. Let's see here. Tabletop minions. Website. This thing, window capture. Here. There we go. So this is the Tabletop Minions website, and I already switched over that. Okay, cool. So anyway, TMX, come on. Right, so the logo here still says 2025, and I need to update that, but that's a graphic. But I did update the dates, so June 13th and 14th, 2026. That's been fixed. And I did take down these are last year's classes, and I put down here are last year's classes described below. And, I went through and changed some things. I put down event schedule again, so you can see the event schedule from last year. But this stuff will start to get updated maybe even as soon as this week, but it might be next week. I got a lot of stuff to get done this week, and then I'm going to be gone this upcoming weekend, I believe. But there was a lot of different things going on at TMX last year, and we're hoping to have about, roughly as many type of things going on this year. So if you get the chance, and if you're interested and you live somewhere near here, you should definitely come and check it out at some point. Let's see here. Good afternoon from the Netherlands. Good day from snowy and cold Hanover, Germany. I won't get any painting in today, but I'm writing report cards while listening. Well, I hope it helps. I can't write stuff and listen to people talking at the same time. I'm weird that way, but I hope it works out well for you. Good morning from Middle Tennessee. I wonder if I should texture my Space Wolf bases before priming. They're the only Marines I give snow mountain bases to. So I like to texture my bases before I prime in almost every situation, but I don't usually do snow. I'll be honest, I would probably do your snow effects at the end, but any other texture I would probably do before that. That's just me. But like I said, I basically never do snow texture at all. So, from what I've seen and the way people do it, it does seem like it would be a better idea to do it at the end. But any other texture I would always do before priming. That's the way I always do things. Hello from Middle Tennessee, 60 degrees yesterday, 35 degrees today. Did get a little priming in and went to a scale model show in Chattanooga. Neat. Afternoon from a damp and chilly Puckle Church. Working on some Lower Canadians miniatures for my game of Silver Bayonet. Nice. The Bristol Biggins, that's a fun name. Morning from damp Townsville. Townsville, you say? Let's see here. Scrolling. There we go. Townsville. Warmed up in Germany for me to -8°C. There you go. Sounds a lot like South Ontario. You don't like the weather? Just wait a few hours. Yeah, that's... Blackout minis are going to be difficult to buy in Australia. You're not wrong. I mean, a lot of things I think are probably interesting to buy in Australia. But I think that, they don't sell STLs, which is a little bit of a bummer. I kind of wish that they did. Just literally for things like that. But, I mean, I think, you could probably kit bash your own stuff to some degree if you wanted to. I mean, there's not like the police are going to come, probably. Sam Len's artwork, how you doing? Morning from Liverpool, England. Sam and I were, he was not in Liverpool, but Sam and I went to TMX yesterday. Morning from a sunny but chilly Columbus, Ohio. Got a lot of Columbus, Ohio. They claim one store in New South Wales, but they have no mention of them in their store. Huh, that's weird. Snowy good morning from Pittsburgh. Greetings from Luxembourg, painting some printed halflings by Ve Victus, which I'll be using for OPR Skirmish. Nice. Morning from Richmond, bummed you might not make Nova Open this year. Yeah, it is a bummer, but I don't know that it's going to happen. Good morning from a wet Pacific Northwest. Good morning from New York. Working on fully kit-bashed mushroom-themed cultist warband to use in Vestarian and all sorts of mini-agnostic sci-fi games. Nice. Mushroom-themed cultists. Like mushroom-themed like they worship mushrooms or they are mushrooms? Or is it kind of like that video game, The Last of Us, where the people are like mushroom zombies? Going from the Pocket Dimension. How you doing? Good afternoon from a hot Darren Dardanup. I think I got that. I've just gotten into Blackout and bought the starter set, 3 extra teams plus 3 easy. I've gone hard straight out of the gate. Nice. Yeah, it's like I said, it's a cool game. When we were playing yesterday, you have to be very, very tactical. So if someone shoots at you and you're in cover, then they roll a d10. And then they have a target number that they have to be able to hit. And if it hits you, then you have to potentially try to roll a save. And it's kind of tough sometimes. Most models in the game can take 1 save. And they save on a 6 up. All the dice are basically 10 up, right? So if I shoot at you and you're in cover, I can only throw 1 die. And you can only block, let's say I get past the cover and I hit you, you can only block 1 hit. And let's say it's maybe 6 up or whatever, right? So if I shoot at you in cover, even if I hit, there's a relatively okay chance you can block that 1 shot. But if I shoot at you in cover and I roll a 10, that's a critical, because it's the highest you can roll on a 10-sider, which means that you get 2 hits. Now, you can only block 1 of those. Your armor is 1/6, let's say, which means it can block 1 hit and it blocks it on a 6 up. If I hit you with a crit, you just die. There's no like, oh gosh, no, it's a very brutal game. Also, if you're not in cover when I throw dice at you, I throw 3 d10. So like the difference between being in cover and not being in cover is massive, and it just shows how being in cover is pretty important, honestly, pretty much in all situations. And there are special like circumstances where you can get up to the edge of a wall of a building and you can declare that you're leaning out, and then I have them right here somewhere. Yeah. You have one of these little plastic tokeny things that says, hey, it means I'm leaning out. And you put it next to, I don't have an actual miniature here on my table. That's weird. So you put it right next to, so if the building is going this way, right? And so now I've put my guy right up to the edge of the building and he can't really see down there. You put this next to him and you can say, he leans out this much. So you automatically get cover, but you also can't lean out if you move too far to get there. There's all kinds of little things, but once you start to get the hang of it, it makes a lot of sense. And then you have like an armory for your group. So during the game, you have like 3 to 4 different things that you can use, like smoke grenades or this or that, but you can't just be using them constantly. You have to mark on your card with like a little dry erase marker, because your cards are hard plastic, like a credit card or a gift card. And so you can just mark on there, like, I used a smoke grenade. So you can't use like 5 smoke grenades over the course of the game. You can use, this unit might be able to use 2 or whatever, but you're using something from the armory and you mark it off. And then you have some special abilities that are like army-wide. And then there's also, it's just a couple little things, but you basically have these little cards, and that's what you need. You don't need a codex and a battle tome and like this and that. And I don't know. It's nice, and I like that you can play it on a 2x2 board, which is great also, and I also like that you can play it generally very, very quickly. So that's pretty cool too. But it does just croak. Let's see here. Afternoon, Uncle Adam from Scotland, basing I was going to say an 11 Union Blood Bowl team, but I bet it's Elven. There you go. That makes more sense. Morning from Jacksonville, Florida. How you doing? Awesome to see you do some more Blackout. I recently gave up on 40K and saw 2 vids on Blackout, yours being one of them. Now working on getting a second force. Good rules and quick games. Nice. I did find also my, I've got this Badlands box, which I have not opened yet, but it's an add-on. Force includes a group of 4 models with a unit card, a group of 4 more models with a unit card, so it's basically 8 models. And I don't know if they're like, mercenaries that you can add to groups or not, but I got to look into it more. But I did pick this up at Nova. Otherwise, I have 4 forces painted. I have, let's see, the original starter set was Harlow versus Manticore. I have both of those forces painted, and then the second, or the current one, the current starter box, I believe, is UN versus Boone, like Boone Recon or something like that. And those guys are also painted. I have them done as well. Upgraded premium to a family plan with separate channels for my different geekeries and one for my dad to use. It's worth the price to keep it all separate and not see ads. Like I said, I literally only ever use my Tabletop Minions account when I'm uploading videos or streaming. So I'm like, I don't want to, But otherwise, yeah, we've just got the regular one. Let's see here. Good morning from Farmington Hills, Michigan. You sound like you were in a coffee can. I don't know what to do about it. I'm sorry. I don't know what the problem is. There is no, like, I'm blaming probably OBS. Like, there's only 2 things in the audio mixer that it's pulling from. It's only really one. There's a beacon mic, which is this microphone here, and then there's the mic/aux, which is currently muted. So I don't know. Yeah, I'll have to figure out how to fix it later. Good morning from Farmington Hills, Michigan. Okay, yeah. Blackout is a great game. Being in Europe, I have to proxy, unfortunately. Yeah. Do you have a PlayStation controller? No, I don't have a PlayStation controller plugged in. Sorry, no, I don't. I have a PlayStation downstairs in my basement, but it's not plugged into anything. I don't think. Well, I mean, it's plugged into my PlayStation. Let's see here. Haven't seen Blackout anywhere I go yet, although I suspect Black Knight Games might have a few copies, as they often carry some obscure indie titles. I mean, they're a small company for sure. They're a small. I don't know, maybe 2-3 people maybe work there. If I had to guess, maybe it's more. But Blackout's one of their titles. They have a couple other titles, I think. The name of the company is called Enemy Spotted Studios, I think. Yep, Enemy Spotted Studios. Made in the USA, veteran owned and operated. So I know they have a big Discord. Lots of people there too. So, let's see. Are there any solo rules for Blackout? I believe so, but I have not yet gotten a chance to look at them. But I swear I heard from somewhere that there are. Just trying to manage my expectations and anxiety regarding my first Adepticon registration. I just hope I can get into at least one of my first choice classes. It is a thing. It is a lot of, it's a lot of people all trying to get in at the same time. So it is always something. Sometimes live streaming makes you just want to live scream. There you go. Alpha Strike is awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to... I had dinner with some friends last night. And my friend Eric was there, Eric and Emily. And Eric and I need to get together and play some Alpha Strike. Let's see here. Hello from Ottawa after a fresh snowstorm. How you doing? Good morning from Orlando. I really used to like snow. You know what I mean? I really used to be like, when I was a kid, you'd like see all that snow out there. And you're like, oh, that's awesome. I'm gonna go outside and play in that snow later. But then when you get to a certain age and you have to clean up the snow and get it off of your sidewalk and all that stuff, then I'm not as big of a fan of snow as I used to be. It's interesting. Hello, Wisconsin. Can't wait to scramble to tickets in 3 hours. Mike sounds great. I appreciate that. Do you think I'll have to sign up for Adepticon today if I want to go? I'm at work all day, but I might want to go. So, I tickets don't sell out for like if you want to go. And I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. If you just wanted to go and check it out, you can technically go and not even have to buy a badge. They don't like the how's this go? Like Gen Con, you have to have a badge if you want to go into the vendor hall. There's people checking badges just to walk in and buy stuff from vendors. And Adepticon has always been like, look, if you just want to walk around and look at stuff and check it out, maybe buy some stuff from vendors, we're not going to charge you to have a badge. You know what I mean? There was during the days after the pandemic, like the first one back, I think, they did have like a visitor badge that they required people to have. But basically, it just meant that you had gone through the line and they had looked at your vaccination card or whatever like that. But now they don't need to do that anymore. So if you just want to show up and look around and check stuff out, you can always do that. Or if you just want to buy a badge with the potential of jumping into something or doing, playing some game or doing whatever, you can do that too. And badges just basically don't run out. What the problem, that's not a problem, but it's a good problem for the convention to have. But the struggle sometimes with users is that everybody wants to get into Sam's painting class, but there's only 24 seats or whatever. So it's a fight for everybody to get in to buy that class, right? So if you're not super concerned about taking classes and stuff like that, then there should be no struggle. You know what I mean? It should be pretty simple. You just either, back in the day, if I didn't want to take any classes, but I just wanted a badge, I would just wait until later in the afternoon or whatever, once everybody had gotten their badges, and then I would buy my badge. Sometimes there are certain merch items, because you can also buy merch items starting today when the thing goes live, the shopping cart or whatever. There are certain merch items that can sell out, like those little challenge coin things. I know I have one around here. Yeah. Yeah, this one's a challenge coin for Adepticon 2023. I don't know. It's just these little cool coins and stuff like that. And they have like this one is number 63 out of, I don't know how many, X amount of them. Anyway, those sometimes might sell out if you're into that kind of thing or whatever. But for the most part, like other stuff has a tendency not to. What sells out is if you want to get into certain tournaments, like if you want to get into the Warhammer 40K Championship, there's only 256 seats because they only have 128 tables. And you know what I mean? You got to put a cap on that stuff. Because of the, physics of reality. So there's that. And then, I don't know. But like I said, if you just want to go, that's never a problem. Finding a hotel sometimes might be a problem, but it's better than it used to be because it used to be really hard to find a hotel, and now it's easier because it's Milwaukee and not, where it was in Schaumburg, but it was like out in I don't want to say it was in the middle of nowhere, but it wasn't not in the middle of nowhere a little bit, you know what I mean? So, let me see here. I'm a Timmy. I already won because I got to play a game. Yeah, I'm a Timmy. That came up in the video or in the podcast that I am. Vince is like, you are a Timmy, and I'm like, yep. We also have a Fabian, that guy who has no idea how to play the game and has to keep checking the rules to move his troops. I didn't know that was a thing, but I've met folks like that. I've been that guy sometimes too. I guess it wouldn't be much of a podcast if you didn't talk about things. So achievement unlocked. Yeah, I guess that's true. Haven't got to actually game in so long, I don't know what I am. Oh my goodness. Good morning from sleepy Saskatchewan, Mr. Sir Adam. Temperatures are going to be above freezing this whole week. Not the blessing one would think when you're driving in winter. Yeah, things got kind of slushy here last week too, but it's fine. Nergo Matthew, how you doing? Good morning from Nina. I will be assembling more B1 battle droids for Legion. They're very fiddly. I've heard from multiple folks that they are very fiddly. When I got into Legion, I got into it in the original starter box. So I built a Galactic Empire, force. So it's stormtroopers and whatnot. And man, I gotta tell you, like those models aren't great. They're not astounding, gorgeous models. But boy, oh boy, you could build them fast. Holy God. I could put a squad of 7 of those stormtroopers together in about 30 minutes because it just like the stormtroopers, most of them were like head, torso, and legs were all one part. And then you had a gun with 2 arms ending in shoulder sockets. And then you would just go glue, glue. And that was pretty much about it. Again, they weren't super great in the sculpts. The material was like a little, and sometimes mold lines were a bit of a pain, but I really liked putting them together fast. I'm really, as I get older, I am not as big of a fan of building models as I used to be. I much rather paint, and so that's why I have a tendency to enjoy more and more 3D printed stuff because I'm like, oh, it's done already, great. Or maybe you have to glue 2 things together, and that's about it. So yeah. Was Tundracon at the Marriott? No, Tundracon was at the Hilton Garden Inn out kind of by the highway. It's out, well, it's technically right by the airport. It's on 20th Ave, 20th Street, 20th Ave, 20th Ave, I think is what it is. It's a nice facility, you know, not particularly big. Could TMX have fit in that room? Yeah, probably. It wouldn't have given us a ton of room to grow, and I don't know how modular that area was. But yeah, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. I don't know. The lobby was very nice, so that's, you know. But now, I mean, the Marriott where we do TMX, the Oshkosh Convention Center, which I think I might have to change that because I think they've technically changed the name now. Well, the convention center is still a convention center, but the hotel across the street from the convention center over the Skywalk is technically a Marriott now. Anyway, they've really fancied up the Marriott, obviously, because they, you know, redid everything. So, as someone who models, sells terrains and minis, I fully recommend everyone mirror the STLs. Mostly for my combat Tales miniatures, I build everything to be fully compatible with mirroring. Yeah, like I said, I've never. Well, I take it back. I was going to say I've never tried it before, but I have. Well, no, I take that back. I had my friend Dave mirror some stuff one time when he was printing me some resin, but it was because you had to. Like the kit, the group of STLs, like as I was going through it, I'm like, well, there's only left arms. Why are there only left arms? And then I said something to him and I'm like, why are there only left arms? And he's like, I bet they probably just want you to mirror so that you have left and then right arms. And I was like, oh, because there were different hands, because there were different hand positions, holding guns, pointing, whatever. But the arm part, I was like, these robot guys they just gave you one side. And I'm like, okay, I guess. I mean, honestly, the person who made the group of STLs also could have just mirrored it quickly and then saved it as a right one, but whatever. So yeah, I didn't do the mirroring in that situation. Dave did. And he uses, what does he use? Well, when he's doing resin, I'm sure he probably uses lychee, maybe. I'm not sure which slicer he uses. But for when I'm using my Bamboo Lab printer, I'm using the Bamboo Studio, which I like. I just need to figure it out as far as that's concerned. Good morning from a refrozen Cleveland. Let's see here. Howdy from blustery and cold Blue Ridge Mountains. Michael Strange, how you doing? Good to see you. Where am I? There. Morning from Chicago. Just bought a house with a large unfinished basement for hobby. Nice. People asked us when we bought our house if I was going to finish the basement, and I was like, no. Like, that's, A, it's a lot of work, and I'm not necessarily that handy. And B, I've helped friends remove carpet and drywall from their basements that flooded. So I was like, I feel like if I do the work, I'm just then setting myself for having to undo it like in a decade. So I'm like, eh. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I come from a long line of basement people, I guess, you know, like, you know, those of us who are super into these kind of hobbies, it's a lot of it's getting done in the basement, you know? So yeah, the other big benefit too is because the basement is all like joists and like exposed and it's old, you know, when I do move the studio back down there, I'm just gonna be able to hang stuff, like clamp things to the joists and have lights and mics and stuff like that. Where usually if you have like a normal finished ceiling, then you have to installed this like metal grid work to be able to attach things to, and I'm not going to have to do that. So there you go. Downside, spider webs, which, you know, you can clean up from time to time. Let me see here. Enjoy my first winter without snow in decades. Stay warm. Oh, in Phoenix. Yeah, you're not going to get too much snow in Phoenix, I bet. I usually do my bases and minis completely separately and put them together only in the last stages. I rarely ever do that. You know what I mean? I generally am a lot more mercenary and just go, you know, here you go. You know what I mean? Working on my board to play Forbidden Psalm in the Last War. Nice. So a 2x2, I'm assuming. I really like 2x2s. Yeah, I don't know why. I just do. One of these days I'm going to get, I'm going to convince Vince that we need to make a game that's on a 2x2. We've done like the Warcry / Kill Team size multiple times, the 22x30, and that's not too bad. And then we've done a 3x3, Majestic 13 was a 3x3 game. But yeah, I'd like to do a 2x2 at some point. My favorite bases are clear acrylic. That way it fits with any terrain I put it on. It's true. It's true. Hello from Montreal, working on my board. Oh, I just read that one. I textured my Trench Crusade bases yesterday with coffee stirs. Yeah, I did some of that too. And texture paste. The Trench Pilgrims I've already done. I used coffee stirs on some of them to make them look like broken pieces of duckboard, like the wood, you know? And then on the Prussians that I'm working on right now, on some of the ones with slightly bigger bases, there's a little bit of that on there too. Let's see here. Should I prime them and then the minis? Wait. Should I prime them and the minis not attached to make it easier to paint the base and mini? So some people like to keep the stuff separated. Paint the base separate, and keep the models separate, and then stick them together. I have always been a fan of glue model to base, then texture base, then prime, and then paint. But your mileage may vary. It depends. It also depends on how fancy you want to make your bases. My bases for Trench Crusade specifically are basically brown, a little bit of gray if there's like sort of rocks kind of looking up, a little bit of wood color to some degree if I'm using some of those coffee stirs to be little pieces of wood, but otherwise it's mostly brown. And then once everything is finished on the model and I've gone through and matte varnish and all that stuff, the very last step, even after painting the rims on the bases, is I take some brush on gloss varnish and I brush it on to the base to make it look wet and muddy. That's generally how I do it for Trench Crusade. But yeah. Anyone know why my YouTube feed is suddenly filled with clickbait downfall of Trench Crusade videos? There is, I think, some sort of coordinated group, if I'm perfectly honest. This is going to sound like a conspiracy theory, but so when you're a YouTuber, you get this app that you can use called YouTube Studio, and it allows you to look at your stats and this and that and yada yada. But one of the things it does that's really nice is it gives you all of your comments. So I don't have to go through video after video after video to see if there's any new comments on any of my videos. It just takes every new comment from every video that I've made, which is nearing 1,000, and it puts those comments like front and center so I can answer them or read them or just click the little heart thing or thumbs up or whatever. So I see all that stuff come in, and over the last 2 weeks, I have seen times where all of a sudden I will get like 5 or 6 or even more comments that are all negative comments about Trench Crusade. And sometimes it'll be the same person commenting on multiple Trench Crusade videos of mine, which makes sense. But sometimes it will be different people all commenting, and they're all using the same talking points. So I really strongly believe somewhere there's either a subreddit or a Discord of people who are salty about Trench Crusade for whatever reason, and they will do these concerted kind of brigade kind of like, well, let's go over to this channel and that kind of stuff. And I'm wondering if some of these videos are related or even potentially driving some of that stuff. I don't understand. It's constantly talking. The keywords they use are broken promises. It's always like, well, they broke their promise. And I'm like, I would love to see where the promise was that they were going to always only do STLs and never do plastics, or, all that kind of stuff. I don't know. I think it's all silly. I know it's all silly, but I mean, it's a free game that you can kit bash and play however you want, but that's not good enough. So I can't tell if it's people who are mad because they prefer a different game system, let's say 40K, and they're ticked about how well this is doing, or if they're people who got kicked out of their Discord back a couple of years ago when that whole thing flared up. But I don't know. I think it's all silly, and if those people don't want to play, they should totally not play, and I don't want to play against them. So there you go. Boom. Hello from Raleigh, North Carolina. First time catching you live. Well, good to see you. Working on my robot dinosaurs. Nice. From Monster Apocalypse. Nice. Sam chugging raw eggs like an unchained monster. I mean, technically there was just the one. I watched the video last night. Unless was there one at the very, very, very end that I missed? I don't think so. But still, it's icky. I don't want to do that. Blackout minis are easy to buy here in Australia. You just have to be happy with the cost of postage and waiting a few weeks. Sure, I mean, that makes sense. Warhouse is an Aussie site that sells, but the stock availability fluctuates. Gotcha. They have become mushrooms through mutations. Nice. Could be on mushrooms, though. That's a possibility. Good morning from Boston suburb. My New York is points. Wait, what? New Year, New You? Oh, okay. Maybe that's what it is. I'm not sure what that is. Doing some Emperor's Children. Cool. Oh, New Year, New Army. That I know. Okay. Happy time of day to you from Williams Lake, BC. How you doing, David? Sam's Wild's new AP paint video made me laugh. It was very funny. Yeah. I'm a weirdo who doesn't do his bases until the model is largely finished, marching to the beast of a different drummer. A lot of people do that. Honestly, I think, if anything, most people have a tendency to do that, where they, hang on. Got bright again. Oops. I think most people have a tendency to do that, where they will they'll paint the model and then start working on the base. I don't like doing that because I'm always afraid, because I've done this in the past, where I'm going to get texture onto the painted model. As I'm trying to stick stuff down there, I'm like, oh god, no, okay. So I don't like that. And if I get texture on the unpainted model, then I can usually wipe it away before it dries. Whereas if if depending on the type of texture you use, or glue or whatever, that can be a real problem if it's a painted model. So that's the thing. Also, I just like to have several layers. Like, I like to have the primer over the top of it earlier versus later. I don't paint the base until I'm done with the model in most situations, but I do like to at least texture the base. I also see a lot of people who get done painting and then they're just like, yeah, I'm going to do the bases later, and then they kind of never do the bases later. So that's it helps you, at least in that regard. Let me see here. Love the lean out mechanic. Yeah, it's a really unique mechanic to the Blackout stuff. Like this whole concept of being able to lean around the corner, but you can't just constantly do it. Like, you have to, basically, if you've moved more than half of your movement, so if your movement is 6, let's say, if you moved 4 inches, then when you get there, you can't lean out because you've moved too far. But if you moved like 3 inches to get to that point, then you can lean out. That kind of stuff. And then you can do like an Overwatch thing. There's a lot of different Overwatch mechanics in the game too, where you're constantly which has got a little bit of a vibe of Infinity. Infinity's kind of got a lot of that too, where if you see a guy, and it's not your turn, this guy's turn, and he's moving, but he moves through your line of sight, you can take a shot at him and stuff like that. In Blackout, it's not just like, oh, I see the guy, but if the guy stops and is in my line of sight, I can fire at them, even though it's their turn. Excuse me. Let's see here. I'm looking at my collection and the web for an all-metal selection of minis for Majestic 13, just to be contrarian to your dislike of metal miniatures. Well, that's fine. I mean, if you like them, you should definitely use them. Cobblestone Assault Troopers as Majestic 13 to start. I could see that. Who's the other company? Is it Eureka? I've bought minis from Eureka before that are metal. And I bought them for Zona Alpha. But I remember thinking to myself, these would also totally work for Majestic 13. Odd, I haven't had any TC Minis burst. Latest word is that the printers that they're using are not doing such a good job. I don't think that when Dave, because Dave printed my my Trench Pilgrims, and I don't think that there were any problems with them. But Dave is also pretty competent and knows if it's a big chunk and he can look at it and see it's solid, he's going to put a hole in it. You know what I mean? For drainage and stuff like that, or something like that. I don't exactly understand it all. But yeah, otherwise I haven't had any problems with mine, but that doesn't mean that nobody else had problems, obviously. Let's see here. For my Combat Tales game, I'm using both cover and concealment because they are technically different. Interesting. Concealment lowers the die type. I use RPG dice. Neat. While cover increases the actual hit number. Nice. 3D prints burst when there are hollows in the files that don't get drained. Resin continues to cure over time, but yeah. Dave printed me something a long time ago that had that problem. But it was kind of like in the early days, I think, of him printing and me getting things from him printed. So, yeah, there was something that was leaky, but yeah. Good morning from Orange Park, Florida. How you doing? Blackout is such a great game. We've been playing a ton and have built a little community here in Virginia. Well, that's cool. I drill holes in feet, make sure it drains. I haven't had to fix one that way yet, unlike Bestarium and Archvillain. Interesting. Had my broadcast default to using my webcam mic once. The thing is that like with OBS, it shows the audio mixer and it shows that there's just the beacon mic, which is again that thing, and that's the only thing in there. So I mean, it's probably picking up a second audio thing, but you'd think it would show it someplace. Unless it's, hang on, maybe, advanced audio properties, beacon, mic, active, mic, no, that should be, why is that active when it's off? Monitor off, yeah. Can I just delete mic aux? No, why not? I hate OBS so bad. I can't wait for someone to come and figure out how to do better than these chuckleheads. Yeah, the secondary mic aux is, so now I've unmuted the mic aux, so I don't know. I'm assuming that we're probably going to be getting like a real bad reverb, so I'll stop doing that. But I can't get rid of it. And I can't turn it off. If I can just sit here and turn off all these tracks. I don't know why there's 6 separate tracks, but I don't know. I'm going to have to look at it later on and try to figure it out. It's just OBS being stupid. I think. So again, I apologize. Let's see here. PSA Anthem. Remember that game is shutting down tomorrow. Last day to play is today. Oh yeah, who was I watching? I had somebody on in the background. Bruce Green on Twitch, and he was playing Anthem because it was about to shut down. I cut the legs off a Frostgrave Knight model from the skirt to his shoes, then glued the shoes to his skirt to make a dwarf. I mean, it's kind of, yeah. That should probably kind of work. I'm finding the audio fine and okay, but if you can suggest what to do with all these Ziploc baggies. I do use one big Ziploc for them, or just one large box and then store them flat. I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world to store a bunch of Ziploc baggies and like recycle them, but if it starts to become troublesome, then you're like, well, maybe I could, I don't know. I don't know. That's a good question. Every time I see someone use TC, I think Tech Commander. Oh. What's with GW making new combat patrols and discontinuing the older boxes? I think Combat Patrol will make it in the new edition. Do I think Combat Patrol will make it in the new edition? Probably yes. However, I think it will change. I would not be surprised if they tried to make Combat Patrol more like Spearhead, because they have a tendency to do that. When they do something sort of smart, then they try to do it in the next edition of the next game. Like when they're like, hey, this worked pretty well for this game. Let's do, like, literally, like, 10th edition, they did Combat Patrol. It was, I liked it, but not everybody did. But there was, so they were like, well, let's take that and do it differently. And they turned it into Spearhead. And now I could see Spearhead then slightly driving how the new, 11th edition version of Combat Patrol works, whatever. If anything, probably what they will do is they will change the boxes again, because they love doing that, so that you got to buy new boxes and paint new armies. So I don't know. I don't think it'll go away. I just don't think it'll, I don't know, maybe it'll get better. I liked it. Sam and I played a bunch of Combat Patrol in the early days of 10th edition. And then they really started messing stuff up a lot. But I don't know. Like, I liked the fact that it was on a slightly bigger board, but it was too big. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like Spearhead's on too small of a board and Combat Patrol's on slightly too big of a board. I don't know. That's probably just a me thing. Loosely collected does not like snow. I get it. I understand. Experienced printers can fix it in many ways. Sure. Let's see here. Looks like badge shipping deadline is next month. I mean, but you can always get a badge at the door. With Adepticon registration open, it would be a great time to get a seat at one of my games. If you like Full Thrust, try Sail Power. If you like Alpha Strike, try Tech Commander. There you go. Oop, I gotta click over there. I got a thing. Let's see here. New plastics. The new plastic is so much better than the old soft plastic for Legion. I'm sure it is, but now it takes 3 times as long to build a model, and that's my problem. I would rather build. I'd rather a model is maybe not the super dynamic, perfect model, but it takes me 5 minutes to put it together, as opposed to, last year, I think it was. Was it last year or was it 2 years ago? I was going to finish up and paint I think it was 2 years ago at Adepticon. We were all going to bring a Combat Patrol to Adepticon, and so I was going to bring my Dark Angels Combat Patrol to Adepticon. I had built the Redemptor Dreadnought, painted him, liked him. I did the 5 Primaris Intercessors, cool. I was working on the Chaplain, and then I'm like, all I got left is these 3 Jump Pack nerds, whatever those guys are called, Suppressors, whatever they're called. And I was like, I'm gonna build. It was a week in between every other Sunday show. I'm like, I'm gonna build them this morning before we go to lunch over my in-laws, and I'll come home and I'll prime them, and then I can sit. And it was time to go to lunch, and I had built just the 3 backpacks, the jump packs, because each of those jump packs was 11 pieces each. And I'm like, why? Why do we need this? You know what I mean? So I know there's a lot of people that are jazzed about the new plastics and stuff like that for Star Wars Legion, but I'm not one of them, because I just don't want to build like something with that many pieces and all that kind of stuff. Like I said, I could seriously put together an entire squad of Space Marines, or not Space Marines, sorry, Stormtroopers in like 30 minutes or less. It was very easy and I liked it a lot. So yeah, I'm just not into as I get older, I'm just not into spending that much amount of time on just putting guys together. I would rather get guys painted. Listening to the latest Snarlcast driving home from work on the weekend, Vince seemed delighted in your pure Timminess. I mean, I'm sure it's, I'm probably a Hufflepuff or something as well. I don't know. I don't really pay attention to that Harry Potter stuff. Has anyone experienced superglue getting very hot when it cures? So it depends on what you cure it with. Like, especially if you use baking soda. Baking soda and superglue hardens up. Baking soda becomes a catalyst, I believe is the proper terminology, and it to superglue, and it does get warm. I've never had it burn me or anything like that because I used to use it a lot more than I use it these days, but I did used to use it a lot. But yeah, it does get warm. I've just never had it get hot, I guess. Not so like, you know, had a bunch of my fingers and felt it. Yeah, you probably felt it like go, oh, it's gotten warm. But I've never had it just do that. Like, I've got it stuck to my fingers all the time. I amazingly don't have any super glue stuck. Oh, I know why. That's because the gluing I was doing yesterday was one of the few times when I actually used plastic cement instead of super glue. I have this shipping container from Monster Fight Club, and there was a part on it that was broken, and I was like, oh, I could super glue it, but I'm like, maybe I should try using plastic cement on it because, you know, it'll actually melt. And then I sort of screwed it up a little bit. So, you know, I did get some plastic cement in my fingers, but my fingers aren't made out of plastic, so it didn't stick to my fingers, which is actually kind of a benefit. I'll give you that. But yeah, CA glue I've never had, unless I've also got somehow baking soda on my fingers. I've never had it get hot. Told my sons years ago that building models is the apprenticeship in the hobby, so I get them to build my minis when I can talk them into it. Well, that's awful nice. I've had to go far. Let's see here. There we go. I have a resin printer, but I find I prefer the building and cleanup of plastic over the clean up of resin. I mean, I have a resin printer that I've never used because I was always kind of nervous about it as far as like the cleanup and the gunk and the stickiness and all that kind of stuff and the smell. I drilled a hole in my house for it. I can see it over there. And I would be probably printing now, but my good friend Dave has got a side business. It's called bottleandspool.com. Bottle because resin comes in a bottle, and spool because filament comes on a spool. And so I just have him print me stuff when I need something done in resin. When I do my own filament, but he does. I have him do the resin stuff for me. And so, but if he wasn't doing that, then I would probably have to figure out how to do the resin stuff myself. But yeah. But I just, yeah, I don't know. I'm fine with plastic. It's fine. But you know what kind of plastic is, I think, my favorite is probably Frostgrave and Stargrave models, that type of stuff. The GW thing now of like, oh, that arm's going to be 6 pieces. And you're like, but why, though? Why does it have to be 6 pieces? That's the thing that drives me insane these days. If it's just like gluing shoulders, you know, gluing arms onto shoulders and gluing head onto neck, I'm like, okay, cool. But it's like the way they've been doing it lately. I don't know. I try to keep most of my models as torso, arms, weapons, legs, head, and tails as the only pieces. Yeah, makes sense. I use my FDM printers for terrain pieces and my resin printers for minis and busts. That's the way I think most people do it. Superglue is a great way to seal up those paper cuts. I know that's technically, I've always heard that's what superglue was originally made for, was for like maybe World War II for closing wounds. But ow, that'd burn, I think. Just partially finish your basement. Leave the last half meter of the floor unfinished. No, I don't want to do that. Have you tried a 16 by 16 board? No. It seems like a weird size, doesn't it? Like, in my mind, like an 18 by 18 board would make more sense, because then if you put 4 of them together, it would be 3 foot by 3 foot, wouldn't it? Am I doing the math right? Like 16 inches is a strange size to me. I would prefer, frankly, a 2 foot by 2 foot board. 16 by 16 seems to me too small, just because it's like that. Yeah. Not even a foot and a half. Any conclusions on your winter weathering priming experiment? I haven't got a chance to do it yet because, like I said before, it's been too warm. Like today, it's not going to quite hit freezing. It's going to stay under freezing. So I could, I guess, do it today, but I can't because I've got other things going on. I got to edit the podcast. But then the next 3 days, it's going to be above freezing. Not all the time, but during the time of day when I would probably be doing the priming. But it looks like... why can't I? Oh, okay. Thursday, it will be pretty cold. But Thursday, I got to be editing anyway, so we'll have the time to do it. So Saturday, I'll probably be gone. Next week, it looks like it's supposed to be pretty cold. So probably maybe next week, Monday. Not this upcoming Monday, but the Monday after that. They're saying it's a high of 19 for the day. So that's considerably under freezing. And that would probably be a good day to try it. So I have I've 3D printed 4 statues from Mini Wargaming. They're about, I don't know, about 7 inches, 8 inches high, tops, maybe 7. And I printed 4 of them. So that I have basically... Oh, no, that's for a different project. Never mind. That's for the other project where I want to figure out how I want to texture statues to make them look like stone. But I could use that same thing again for the priming. Maybe I just print more of those. That's maybe a good idea, too. I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out, but I got to print some stuff. Where did my mouse go? Come back. There we go. All right. Let's see here. Good morning from Springfield, Virginia. Hacking away at a stackable hill terrain made out of XPS foam for Frostgrave and Rangers of Shadowdeep. Nice. So apparently GW is opening a Warhammer world in Washington, D.C. Yeah, I saw that. I don't even know what to say. Happy New Year, by the way. Thank you very much, Mord. I find all this drama about Trench Crusade as enormously entertaining. Never a dull moment. I mean, I don't know. I don't like drama, so I try to stay away from it. I don't like Brussels sprouts, so I generally stay away from them and discussing them, especially online. Interesting. This comment isn't about Brussels sprouts. Whoa. I heard TC bashing at my local GW store. Well, that doesn't surprise me. There are legitimate concerns with their actions that shouldn't be lumped as conspiracy. That is lazy. Okay, what are they? Please tell me. Because I keep having people talking about how they're breaking all these promises and I don't see it. I guess that's my problem. So you'll have to let me know where they've said that they were going to do this and now they've changed it and they're going to do something else and broke that promise and all that kind of stuff. As far as like the stuff with only games, as far as like if you ordered the stuff and then the prints come and they're not great, A, that's an only games problem partially, and B, I wouldn't have ordered from only games if it was me. Like I did order, I did the Kickstarter, I didn't back the book because I didn't want the book, but I wanted STLs. So I got the STLs, I got them in December of last year. No, December of 2025. No, 2024. Yeah, I've had them for a long time. So I got the STLs and, you know, I had my friend print them and but yeah, I've bought stuff from only games in the past and it's been okay. But knowing how many people were going to be potentially sending stuff through them for this, I did not trust getting it done through them. And as it turned out, I wasn't wrong. So I don't know. Maybe that's on... If it was me, I wouldn't, if I was Trench Crusade, I wouldn't have offered that as a tier. I just been like, sorry, you either have to buy the STLs or kit bash like we tell you to. Like they've got the ability to do that kind of stuff. So yeah. Wonder if I could include my Quar in a Trench Crusade battle. I mean, you could. Should start making videos extolling the virtues of Brussels sprouts. I mean, here's the deal. I liked Brussels sprouts once they finally started roasting them. But when I was a little kid, my mom would steam them or boil them. I don't know what she did. I think she steamed them. They were no good. I did not like Brussels sprouts when I was a little kid. And there's also something to be said about being a little kid and your palate's different, and yada yada, and all that kind of stuff. I liked them okay, but I was like, eh. But once they started to like, put a little bit of olive oil on there and you start roasting them, oof, I'm a big fan of Brussels sprouts now. So I don't know. And I'm totally not a shill for big Brussels sprout, or big sprout, as they are called sometimes. Negative I've seen on the Trench Crusade Facebook group is that the company doing the printing for them is taking very long to ship the prints. There were thousands and thousands and thousands of prints. I totally get it. And they are damaged or bad prints. Again, I don't want to say customers should have known better, because if there's one thing that TC did, that Trench Crusade did, it was maybe working with only games. But I don't trust only games with volume. You know what I mean? Like I said, 2 years ago, I ordered a bunch of stuff from them, like around, because there was a sale during Black Friday or something like that. And I ordered maybe 20 models. And they were all fine. There was a couple that were a little bendy, where like swords were a little bendy, but honestly, if you buy WizKids models, those swords are bendy. And you just get them hot in a cup of hot water, like you microwave, or you get the kettle on or whatever, and you just get them hot in the water, and you kind of hold them in there, and then you kind of bend it back, and then you put it in cold water, and then that fixed the problem. But I didn't have any that were like leaky or not properly cured and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, ultimately, is that Trench Crusade's problem? Well, I guess because they decided to work with them, yes. If there's anything that Trench Crusade did, it was that they got too popular and they were working with only games. And those two things kind of dovetail together. But I don't see the other issues as much. I don't know. Like I said, people get ticked off that they moved over to plastics. I'm like, they raised $7 million, $3.3 million in the original launch of the Kickstarter, and then through pledge, the pledge manager, and people adding stuff. Like I added stuff after I only pledged $5 initially, or whatever, and then because I didn't know exactly what I was going to want, but I wanted to be in on the thing. So when the pledge manager came in, I want the Trench Pilgrims, and I want the Heretic Legion. So those are and also the terrain, the STLs for the like trench walls and all that kind of stuff, which I haven't printed any of that stuff yet. And so then from what I've been told, it's ballooned to near $6 or $7 million. Vince and I, personally, if this had happened to us, then I think we would have fulfilled the Kickstarter, and then we would have taken the extra money and retired. I mean, I don't, but what they're doing is they're like, look, let's make it into a company now. And that's why they started working with plastics and using, Archon Studios out of Poland to make these really, really good plastics, and they're going to continue to go that way. But I don't remember ever seeing a promise, and again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there was a big thing that they said, we promise we will always make STLs from now on everything that we do, but I don't remember ever seeing that. So, and again, yeah, I don't understand the problem, I guess, but that's the thing. Creating some ghosts for my Silver Bayonet game. Nice. Are you making them out of Night Haunts or something else? I can tell you how to paint them if you're interested. So you convinced me to try Trench Crusade. If people are trying to kill it, that means I should try it. I'll try it after my 5 parsecs from home run is completed. I mean, the thing is that you can go to their website, you can download all the rules for free. And it's not like a situation like where they're like, oh, it's the core rules. But if you want the real rules, then you have to like buy the book. Everything's on there for free. And from what they say, then this is the promise that I've heard, is that they always will be. And then also the other promise I've heard, which they also haven't broken that I've heard, is that you can always kit bash or whatever. It's model agnostic, right? Now, obviously, that's always the case with any company. GW can't stop you from you and your friends using whatever models you want when you play. But when you go to one of their official events, then they're like, yeah, you can't use those. Those aren't our models, right? But from what Trench Crusade says, and until I know otherwise, they have already had events. My friend Phil, the Glacial Geek here on YouTube, he won the first official narrative event that they had at Nova Open, and none of his models were Trench Crusade models. They were all kit bashed like GW stuff. So I don't know. Until they start saying, no, you can't bring that to our special event because you're not using our models, I'm dubious about that specifically. I update my flatmate and complete the base fully before starting the model, probably 90% of the time. See, I don't want to paint the base before I paint the model because I'm probably going to get some model, like especially when I'm painting the feet, I'm going to get that on the base. And for some reason I can paint the feet, but then paint the base later and not get base on the feet. I don't know how it is that way, but that seems to be the way it works. Working on Quar this morning. Brussels sprouts, blah. We've got a Brussels sprouts hater, which again, like I said, I think it depends on how you cook them. Let's see here. If I see an attractive hardcover rulebook for Trench Crusade and FLGS and the price is reasonable, I could see myself buying it. I think that you're only getting the hardcovers if you did the Kickstarter. That was the original thing I saw. And they may have changed their mind on that potentially. I don't know if that's breaking a promise necessarily when they decide to. But from what I have heard, again, sort of recently, but it was through the Facebook, and I don't know if it was from an official person. I've always heard that the people who backed the Kickstarter book would get a hardcover fancy book, and they were going to make a book to have in stores and things like that, but it was going to be probably a soft cover, but I don't know if that has changed. Blackout minis are great for Majestic 13. Ooh, yeah, I can see that for sure, actually. Now that you mention it. I mean, not all of them. Some of them look a little bit, maybe slightly too sci-fi, but some of them don't, yeah. The UN guys would probably work okay. Like, the ones I'm thinking that wouldn't work well would be maybe Manticore, because they got those, like, weird, like, wedge-shaped, like, visors on their helmets and stuff like that, but yeah. For Bamboo Labs, right-click on the model, bring up options, including mirroring. That makes sense. Reaper made some metal Nova Corps troopers, which were single-piece castings, but they also available Reaper Bones plastic. Interesting. I bet you the Nova Corp guys are probably, if I had to guess, I'd say they'd be sculpted by Bobby... Oh, now what's his name? Shoot, I can't think of his last name. It's not Bobby Jones. Bobby... I know, he's... Whenever I see a sculpt from Reaper, I'm like, I really like that sculpt. It's always the same guy, but now I can't think of his last name. I'm having a total brain fart. I've talked to him. I met him at Adepticon, but I can't think of his last name now. Trench Crusade is a great game. People are people. Some want to see something useful or successful fail, and others because it seems to threaten a game that they have sunk thousands of dollars in. Yeah, I've never understood the sunk cost fallacy in that situation, but, you know, it is what it is. Have you tried Meld as an alternative to OBS? I've heard of Meld. I have not tried it. I feel like it's maybe a little bit still too early days, but I'm keeping my eye on it. I am. Trench Crusade has some theological issues that some people won't be able to get past. Sure, I mean, that's sure. But that doesn't, like, that doesn't seem like broken promises. The thing that's so interesting is about whenever, like, I get a whole bunch of comments all at once on several different Trench Crusade videos on my channel, it's always broken promises are the term that, it's the term that keeps coming up over and over again, which is why I feel like there's some definite, like, you know, there's some definite talking points going on in a subreddit or a Discord or something somewhere. Because it's, again, it's never the same person over and over. Sometimes it's a person who comments on multiple videos, but then there's other ones and it's all around the same time, which is why it feels slightly coordinated. I don't know. It's just something I've been noticing the last couple of weeks. Warning from a snowy Virginia. My Warhammer League game has been rescheduled for next weekend, so I wanted to drop in and listen while painting Tyranids. Nice. Did it get rescheduled because of the snow, or just for other reasons? While all games are miniature agnostic, if you put your heart into it, you can use elves, dwarves, and other fun miniatures for it. Will the police come? See, well, I mean, all games are miniature agnostic if you believe in yourself. But there are certain times, like, I could see a store being like, we're having a 40K tournament. You can't use those Care Bear models or those plastic snakes that you got from, I don't know, the hobby store. I don't know. I mean, and that's the store's prerogative. If they're like, look, you have to, and I can also see stores being like, look, those are all obviously 3D printed Space Marines, poorly 3D printed Space Marines. And a store has obviously a vested interest in like, you know, you should really be buying your stuff at least from another store. It'd be awesome if you bought it from our store. I remember going to an event at a local store, and there was a kid there who, and this is before 3D printing, but it was not before eBay. And he was just telling everybody who would listen about how much money he saved on all of his models because he bought them all on eBay and he didn't buy them from the store. And the store owner's like, why are you here? And it's just, and I get it. I totally get it. And there are some stores that don't like people to come and play games there that the store doesn't sell. So, like, if a store doesn't sell BattleTech and you're like, hey, I'm going to show up and play a bunch of BattleTech, some stores would be like, and I get that too. I would just, I don't know, I'm not a good capitalist, so I'm probably going to let people play whatever they want because I'm assuming that even if they come to BattleTech or to play BattleTech at my store and I don't sell BattleTech, I do sell paint and brushes and glue. Well, you don't have to glue BattleTech models together, do you? But paint and brushes and stuff like that. So, but again, I'm not a store owner, so I'm not really going to make a lot of plans and strategy about how to do it. But when it's a situation of you and your friends playing, if you've got a friend who's like, well, I'm not going to play against you because you're not using official GW, hashtag TM models, don't play with that guy anymore. That's the way I would look at it. They will probably carry over the current boxes to the next edition for Combat Patrol. Probably. But, I mean, like, if you look at it, they started off the edition with Combat Patrol boxes, and then they made new ones as soon as they came out the new codices, right? So you went from what I believe to be a pretty interesting, cool box for Dark Angels, and then they were like, okay, so we're going to make a new one, and it's just going to be like 19 dudes. And there's no, dreadnoughts, there's no... And say what you will about how, now it's perfectly balanced and blah, 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 whatever, that's fine. It's boring, in my opinion. I don't want to play a Combat Patrol of just a bunch of dudes. I want to have maybe a little bit of this in there, a little bit of that. And I don't know, Redemptor Dreadnoughts are awesome. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if any of you have played the video game. It is called Space Marine 2. Spoiler alert, when that Redemptor Dreadnought shows up, you're just like, that was awesome. And so, yeah. Not having that in a Combat Patrol makes me less interested in that particular army or whatever. So luckily, at least at this point, they still have the Combat Patrol rules for the old boxes. So I can still technically play if I want to finish those last 3 jumpy guys with the stupid backpacks. I can play them if I want to. So good on them for that. I definitely don't want to be like I want to be like, look, you guys at least have done this right. And I am very appreciative and glad that the Combat Patrol, when they launched that at 10th edition, they were like, it's going to be free. And I was like, well, we'll see how long that lasts. And so far, it's been good. Now, it's smart of them to do that. And the reason for it is because you do need to have some sort of free tier to get people in the door. First one's free. It's something that drug dealers use. You've heard it before, I'm sure. So if you had to be like, if they're like, hey, if you want to get into 40K, there's a super easy way to do it. Buy this $170 box of models, which is, you're getting models, and I get that, it's the way money works. But then also go and buy all these rules so that you can play. That's a harder ask. But if you're like, buy this $170 box of models and then go download all this free stuff so that you can then use those models and actually play a game that is designed to get you in the door. So I'm glad that they didn't go through and say, oh yeah, that one, we don't make that one anymore, so and get rid of the PDF. All those original PDFs are still on the website from what I've seen most recently. And the last time I looked I was working on a video and I had to look something up over there, and I think it was maybe a month ago. So I don't know, maybe not still today, but probably. I think we would have heard about it if they would start taking, some of the older Combat Patrols off of the website. Somebody would have been like, whoa, but so far so good. For future reference, when you moved the mic closer to your face, the audio didn't change at all, so it's probably not coming from that. I'm tapping on the mic. The mic is active. Pretty sure of it. If anything, what's probably happening is this mic is pulling in information, but so are the microphones in my screens, maybe, or something like that, even though there's nothing showing that it's doing that in OBS. It just says it's pulling from the beacon mic. And yeah, I don't know. If I go here and I go, no, I can't do that. I have to go here, properties. So now this microphone should be, in theory, coming from one of my screens. Yeah, I think that's the case, because I'm rubbing the microphone. So it should be coming from one of those two screens. So now if I go back, and I go to properties, and I say, I don't want to be with the studio display microphone, I want to be from the beacon mic. Now it should be coming from here. But if it's still got, if it sounds like there's like two audios, then I don't know what's going on. I'll have to figure it out later. Excuse me. What would a good game like Spectre be to start at 55 years old? Like Spectre. I've vaguely heard of Spectre as a game, but I don't know anything about it. Like, I remember seeing their website once, and I thought the artwork was pretty good, and I liked their logo. I think I might have saw some models for it at a convention. Where the heck was I? Gen Con? It's either Gen Con or Adepticon. I was at some convention, and I saw Spectre models in the wild, and I was like, oh, look at that. I didn't even know. But I don't otherwise know anything about it, unfortunately, so I don't think I'm a good... I don't think I have a good data point on that, so sorry. Happy Sunday from Toronto. Finally got some blue skies. Nice. The new Legion plastic has wonky proportions. I don't think I've actually even built any of the new Legion plastics. I know a lot of people complained about the B1 droids and how fiddly they were, but that's all I know about them. I finally retired. Excuse me. I finally retired so I can begin to enjoy the hobby again. I hope to attend TMX this year if possible. Any other Midwestern cons that aren't too big I might enjoy out there? That's a good question. I don't like. I was at a convention yesterday here in town that was called Tundracon, but that was pretty small. It was mostly miniatures though, so that was good. There's a convention in late February in Manitowoc, Wisconsin. That's called Fire and Ice, but it's mostly board games and RPGs, but there's some miniatures as well. I think for years and years, they've always had like a 40K tournament on Sunday. There's a guy named Bob that runs it. Bob Smith Industries gets hot? Really? I used to use that, but I haven't. Bobby Jackson. Thank you. Bobby Jackson was the sculptor I was talking about. Let's see here. Clone Troopers. Nope. Speaking of super glue, treat cuts is worse pain than the cut. Yeah. Thing I hate most about building models is cleaning the mold lines. That's another big benefit to 3D printing, I think, because then you don't have mold lines. Although you do sometimes have support nipples. So, it depends what you're into. There we go. I've had wood that I super glued get really, really warm. No kidding. I wonder if there's something in the wood that does that. Because I've never had super glue get hot unless there is a catalyst, like I said, like the baking soda. And again, I've never had it get hot. I've had it get warm. But well, I do know. While I do like the new Legion sprues in comparison to GW, but the old models were very simple to build, and I honestly don't need all my models to be super crisp looking. Yeah, same here, especially when there's so many of them. Like if it was a skirmish game and you had like 7 guys in your group and that was your entire group, different story. But when you're like, I have like 5 squads of stormtroopers, I don't really need them all to be super awesome. Still have the new Middle Earth starter set still in the box because I took one look at all the figures and said, well, no. My old Riders of Rohan were a lot easier and just as nice. Yeah, yeah. I just started a 20mm M3 white scout car for Chain of Command. A whole bunch of parts, but it isn't a problem as it keeps me occupied when it is too wet to paint. I mean, you know, keeps you off the streets, I guess. That's good. Super glue accelerator can make super glue very hot. Oh, yeah, I can see that. Well, this sounds stupid, but I feel like there's like just liquid baking soda in super glue accelerator. I'm sure it's not, but I don't know. It sounds right. That's how the best science gets done. You go, I think so. Recently got the sprue with Faramir, Damrid, and Madril from the Osgiliath box set for Middle Earth strategy battle game. 3 models and over 30 pieces on the sprue. Yeah, yeah. My hobby journey started with Airfix and Matchbox plastic model kits. Tamua? Led hit the teens, a long strange trip, sure. 20 plus components on a single figure box, all used, not optional for the old Zvezda Ring of Rule figures. I'm not familiar with that at all. Speaking of hot, I made a burger with fried onions with fire salt, Lakefront Brewery dark lager, and melted Gruyere. It's a cheese, but I can never pronounce it properly. And then when I finished it with jalapeno hot sauce. Whoa, that's a lot. It's an admittedly odd size. It's only really used by Necropolis 28. I thought it was 18 by 18. No, you're right. I think they are 16 by 16. I know that the point of Necropolis 28 is to kind of make like a little diorama that you play in. But I've never really, I've never played it. Have I ever downloaded it? Necropolis 28? I think I might have last year at one point. I think I did check it out. Because the artist we worked with on Death Wizards is also an artist for those guys, and I wanted to see some of the work, and it looked really good. I mean, Martin's amazing. But I don't know. It's like a weird OCD thing for me, and I don't really believe I have OCD, but I sometimes think I have slightly OCD tendencies. And for me, if we were making a game 16 by 16, I'd be like, but it should be 18 by 18. Like it's just not. I don't know. It's not good. I'm just saying, you know, for me. But good morning, Adam and Chad. I'm not usually up this early on Sundays. Usually got some mechs painted. Actually got some mechs painted for Battletech Aces. Nice. Super glue was developed during the Vietnam War for quick. Oh, I thought it was, for some reason I thought it was World War II, but Vietnam makes sense. You mentioned in the Snarlcast about people rescaling Chrome Rangers to use Battletech mechs. Could you link us to the details? No? I think it was somebody in the Discord. That's all I know. Somebody in the Discord was just like, hey, look, I'm traveling for Christmas, so I made a tiny Chrome Rangers board, and they're using, I think it was in the Discord for the Snarl Hobby channel. That's the best I got. I don't have a link. Assembling Hellsmiths lately has been great. Vince said that he's like, I think you would like the Hellsmiths because they build really easy. I'm like, well, I'd hope. Necromundas, not so much. Yeah, I get that. Hello to you and my future self when I go back and watch this from the beginning later. Absolutely, Matthew. I hope you're doing well. Super glue and surgery glue are very close. Super glue is faster. Surgery glue won't burn the skin. I mean, that would be bad, I would think, if it burned the skin. Getting into bolt action and it's taking forever, but in 2028, my first game will be epic. There you go. Cleaning mold lines from Battletech models can be frustrating. I had a quick cone of paint, makes it easier to see them. I find it, well, see, yeah, it's kind of late then at that point. I've had some mold lines with the Battletech miniatures, but they're not terrible. Well, I guess, I don't know. The ones I've had haven't been terrible. I mean, the sculpts themselves are not crazy sharp. So, I don't know. The plastic's a little, not soft. I don't know what it is. I find, though, that when I try to get rid of mold lines from Battletech miniatures, it's a little bit harder than when I try to get rid of mold lines from, like, normal, what they call, like, HIPS plastic, which stands for high impact polystyrene. So that's a thing. I think it's really cool that there's a game mode for starter box versus starter box. I think it's. Or wait, are you talking about Star Wars Legion? Is there one now? Oh, I didn't know about that. That's cool. It's a smart move from GW too. Like I said, when they first announced Combat Patrol, I'm like, that's smart, you know, because you're like, hey, buy this box, build it, and paint it, and now you have a working army, and you don't have to go and buy the books and all that kind of stuff. And then if you get to the point where you're like, I love this game so much, well, then you go buy all the books and all that crap and blah blah blah, and add to your army. And it was a smart move, and I'm glad that they're still doing it. I just wish that I would just wish that that the newer Combat Patrol boxes were a little bit more interesting. But you know. Got the Reaper Black Tallow Lighthouse for Christmas, hoping to use it for 1490 Doom. Ooh, yeah. Sadly, they're not running demos at Adepticon. I had not heard that. Oh, that's a bummer. Maybe they can't make it. Maybe they got like a family thing or something. Like they're like a wedding or something they got to go to, or I don't know. Roasted Brussels sprouts doused in balsamic vinegar and olive oil with, oh, I know. There's a place downtown called Ruby Owl, and one of their appetizers is just like roasted Brussels sprouts. But it's like they roast the Brussels sprouts, and then they like basically kind of beat them up so that they kind of all shred, sort of, you know, because Brussels sprouts are kind of like onions in that they're like layered and they get, you know, so they roast them and then kind of like stir them until they all break apart stuff, and now it's just like a roasted balsamic Brussels sprout shrapnel, and it's delightful. I like it a lot. I do wish the Blackout minis came with separate arms so I could paint them separately. I've only ever painted the 3D printed ones. I think somewhere I do have a box that's not the 3D printed ones, and it's the new poured resin ones. And I feel like the poured resin ones are a little bit harder to build, obviously, because they're, you know, you don't have to build the 3D printed ones, they're just printed for the most part. So I don't know. And I think that they're trying to get away from the 3D printing because it's difficult. 3D printing at scale is real hard. And so I get it. I'll be honest, I do wish that they just sold STLs. I really do. But especially when you roast them with bacon. Yeah, I think there's a little bit of bacon in that's not an entree, it's an appetizer. I think there's a little bit of bacon in there too. I mean, anything is pretty good with bacon on it. After working in kitchens for 25 odd years, super glue was a godsend to deal with all the little cuts you'd get, and better than a Band-Aid might end up in someone's dinner. Good point. That's a good point. They bred the bitterness out of Brussels sprouts. I'm learning so much about Brussels sprouts here today. Hooray. That's interesting. Good morning, Uncle Adam from Statesville, North Carolina. Loved Friday's video. Well, I'm glad to hear. I got my armies from Trench Crusade. Both were printed. I had some broken stuff, and they fixed it right away, so I wonder how many of the people complaining actually bought figures. That's another good question. Can we breed the bitterness out of opinionated internet commentators, too? I mean, people are going to, you know, people. That's just the way it kind of works. But yeah. I really like North Star and Wargames Atlantic a lot. Go Bulldogs. Who makes Bulldogs? Do they have Bulldogs over at Wargames Atlantic? Like little Bulldog? I don't know what that is. Is it a sports thing? I don't really know sports. My only games experiences have been pretty disappointing. I ordered Skirm. I thought you said Skyrim there, but I think I've vaguely heard of Skirm. I don't know. I'm assuming it's a skirmish game, if I had to guess. But I'm not a genius. And a single miniature from them, and it took forever to get them. I think Wargames Atlantic dropped them for a reason, too. It could be, you know. It's, like I said, 3D printing at scale is really hard. So one of the reasons that I ordered from them a couple of years ago is because I'm like, let's see what happens when I do order 20 models. And it did take some time, but it was also during Black Friday, so I assumed that they probably got a lot of orders. And like I said, most of them were fine. I didn't have anything that was leaky or sticky. I had a couple of swords that were bendy, but, you know, again, you get them hot and there you go. Deathfield's Bulldogs. There are Bulldogs in the... Hang on. War Games Atlantic. Website. A lot of people keep talking about the Barons' War, and I'm just not a historical guy, so I don't know that that's going to be a thing that I'm going to be into. I do want a box of these agents, though, because these guys would be perfect for Majestic 13. If, yes, I would say they are. I mean, I personally think that the best models for no, not these guys. Those guys are cool, but they're not good for Majestic 13. Is it Iron Core? No. What the heck are the Ura guys? Are they Pulp Adventure? Wow, there's a lot more of these than I remember. That's pretty cool. Ooh, Operators. These would be good for these would be pretty good for Majestic 13. Like, totally. Yeah, those would be real good for Majestic 13. You just paint them kind of gray, like a dark gray, and then they're basically kind of men in black. And if you've played Majestic 13 or if you've read Majestic 13, they will walk around with weapons that look like normal weapons, but they are actually infused with something called retech, which is basically reverse engineered tech. So it looks like an M4, but it's like a plasma weapon or whatever. So that would work pretty well too. Can I just go to this? No? Oh, it's under Deathfields, I bet. Yeah, that's where it is. These are the guys that I used for my Majestic 13. The models are called Ura, and they kind of look like Colonial Marines from the Aliens movie, right? That's kind of what they're kind of, you know, so they've got like slightly more sci-fi looking guns, and then I just used the heads that weren't too crazy, and then I just painted them gray, and so that's why those are the ones I used. But the guys in suits would work well. The those other guys that were like the Operators would work well. Bulldogs. Let's see here. I don't see any Bulldogs. Oh, Bulldogs. Okay. Huh. So they look kind of like... That's crazy. They're like sci-fi, but they kind of look like they're fighting against the... Yeah, like they look like Imperial England, but then they also have plasma weapons. That's weird. Huh. Yeah, I don't have a box of these. I own a lot of Wargames Atlantic models, and I use them for kit bashing all the time and stuff like that. I'm 98% sure I have the Grognards. I have the Romjagger. I'm totally getting that perfectly pronounced. The Einjarjar, I got those guys. I know I have the male cannon fodder. I don't have the female ones. I have a box of Ura. I have a box of alien bugs. I don't have the sneak feet or the cavalry, but I have a lot of them from this, but I don't have the bulldogs. Interesting. There we go. Mystery solved. Let's see here. We're talking about Deathfield's Bulldogs. If I just would have read that, I would have gotten there faster. If I did get into Trench Crusade, it would be exactly how I'm doing Stargrave, creating opposing forces to teach my brother-in-law, so it'll take a while, not to the pickup game thing. Sure. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about skirmish games in general. God, it's super bright again. Skirmish games in general, oh geez, are great because they are easy to teach, because you need maybe 5 to 10 models per side. Like I might have a force for Trench Crusade that's 11 models, maybe. I think. But otherwise it's less than that in general. Like I think that the Prussians that I'm currently working on when I'm painting on Twitch right now, those Prussians for the new plastics, I think it's my force is 10 models. So yeah, you can definitely now admittedly 2 of them are 3D printed because I wanted to have one of the mechanized heavy infantry guys in there, and that because they are a sub-faction of Principality New Antioch. I was able to do that. And then, what was the other thing? Oh, and then I got Sniper Priest in there too, which they're going to be making plastic Sniper Priests soon too, I guess. They showed that off a little bit. They haven't showed the sculpts off, but they showed the box off and then like with little silhouettes. But I'm liking the Bite the Bullet Trench Crusade models, and next month they're starting a second My Mini Factory Tribe / Patreon just for Wargames. Cool. Wargames Atlantic uses strange plastic for their prints. I ordered a batch of... See, I thought you just meant strange plastic, but then it was capitalized, and I'm like, I bet strange plastic is a thing. Oh, wait. Is strange plastic... They're the guys that bought Rivenstone? Is that where I've heard that name before? I could be wrong. So stupid. I backed the Rivenstone Kickstarter, and I knew at the time. It was like literal last minute, and I'm like, and I was right. Considering they said that you could kit bash, print anything you want, and that they would allow modeling of figures for the game by third-party 3D artists, I don't see the issue with plastics. I don't either. Let's go Bears. My wife watched that game last night. Yeah, I'm not a sports guy, so I have no opinion on that. I don't get any Trench Crusade drama. I read the rules. It's not for me. I'm not a big fan of what's his name, Ricky Gervais, but he has this bit that he did in a thing. I don't know, some comedy bit or whatever that I've seen that I'm like, I get it more and more. I don't know that it's funny necessarily, but he's like, you could put up a sign in the middle of your town that says free guitar lessons, and then someone's going to come up and go, but I don't want guitar lessons. And you're like, and that's kind of, yeah, you know what I mean? I get it. Like if there's a lot of games out there that I ignore because I don't want to play them and I'm not interested, and I can tell that from just looking at them and then going, yeah, that's not for me. But I don't get angry about it, and that's the difference, I guess. Speaking of Phil, the Glacial Geek, he has an interesting laugh. He is a very boisterous laugh. Yeah, he's a good guy. Morning, Uncle Adam, making some bolt action Conflict 47 U.S. Airborne today. Also, I don't really get the TC issues, given how much great third-party stuff is out there. Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to get my TC book. I was not interested in the Trench Crusade book, so I didn't order it during the time when it was with the thing with the Kickstarter. But then I watched a video, and I can't remember his name, and I'm sorry, but there's a video by the guy who was the designer of the book. Not the designer of the game, but the visual designer who, did the layout and all that kind of stuff. And he's got his own YouTube channel, and he went through the book and talked about, this is why we used this font, and this is why this color was used here. And to me, as a graphics nerd, it was super interesting. And at the end of that video, I was like, I sort of wish I had the book. But the main reason I didn't buy the book is because I'm like, again, the rules are free, and they're going to update, and it's always going to be updated on... And I'm for bigger kind of like ecosystem style games, I'm less and less interested in books because they change all the time. Like with the things that Vince and I do, we put out a book and then there might be an errata or an FAQ that has to come out, but usually not. And we're getting better about that. But it's not like you buy one of our books and all the points are already outdated. I mean, that's not, yeah. But again, that's because we make these kind of one-off books that are more like, here's a story. It's like a novel. Enjoy it. It's not your new religion. You know what I mean? Like that when I talk about ecosystem games, I'm talking about games that are like, this is the one thing that we're working on that's really big, and we're going to continue to add more stuff to it constantly. With us, we make a game and it's enjoyable, and then we make another game. And that other game didn't die. It didn't go away. It's still available. You could come along 5 years later and then buy that game, and it's still there. If you're like, well, yeah, but if I go to the local shop, I can't find anyone to play it. That's not how our games work. That's not how most games work. You find some friends, please, or family or anybody. Someone was talking about their brother-in-law. Nearly any skirmish game is perfect for teaching your brother-in-law, because then you don't have to build two 1,500 or 2,000 point armies. You build, 8 guys and 9 guys, and then go, which one, to your brother-in-law, for example, which one looks cooler to you, and I'll take the other one. And especially if it's a co-op game, you're going to have such better luck teaching friends, because if it's I'm playing against you, then that becomes difficult, and they're like, I'm going to get attacked. But I'm like, we're playing against the game and it's going to be fun, then it's just way better. That's why I like co-op games so much. I prefer 3x3 for Trench Crusade over 4x4. Am I alone? You're not. I do too. Whenever Sam and I play, we always play 3x3s. Deep fried Brussels sprouts for the win. I don't know if I've had them like deep fried with like breading or batter on the outside. I don't think so, but you deep fried damn near anything, For Trench Crusade, the rules seem cool. Only played it a few games. It's a very cool rule system. Not into the aesthetics. That's aesthetics are aesthetics. Some people like them, some people don't. I think the aesthetics are really cool, but I know they're not for everybody. Who would you suggest to watch for basic starting out painting for kids? For kids, I don't know. That's a good question. Like, I do focus on beginning people getting into the hobby, but I don't know about. It's not like I swear, really much at all in the videos or stuff like that and whatnot. So I think that kids could probably handle my stuff, but I think that they also might get bored, because I'm not. I don't know. I don't have any kids, and I don't get them. I don't understand them, frankly. So, and I'm again, like I said, the videos don't focus on kids and stuff like that, and I don't know that I can keep kids' attention as easily. But yeah, I don't know of any channels that are focused on kids that are in wargaming. Now they come to think of it, I can't think of any. Is anybody else in the chat? No, put it in there if you do. Brussels sprout opposite Sunday show. What? I do the bases last and bring the base color up into the feet and lower parts of the... Yeah, I always do that too when I'm painting. The last thing I do is I usually dry brush on the bases, and I try to get some of that dry brush also on a bit of the feet and the boots and stuff like that, because I'm like, well, you're walking through this environment and you're going to get some of it on you. Roasted Brussels sprouts are the bomb. I do not disagree. I love roasting asparagus as well. My wife had roasted asparagus last night with her meal at the supper club. Best way to do broccoli I found is to cut it in small pieces and then pan roast them. Oh, that sounds good. I'm getting slightly hungry. I find single piece metal castings is a joy to paint for some weird reason. I don't, but I'm glad that people do. We still play on a 48 by 96 table. Wow. Find some cheap Skylanders figures on a marketplace. Honestly, I'd tell you to go to, one thing I'd tell you to do is, I do a video about this a little bit, is going to like Goodwill or St. Vincent de Paul or any kind of thrift store and just buying little plastic models. Or like, I bought a bunch of plastic dinosaurs and then bring them home, and then you can use brush on primer. You don't even have to rattle can. You just put on brush on primer to prime them basically to gray, and then practice painting on those. That was a video more about getting used to painting and getting used to using a brush, and the easiest way to practice without practicing on expensive, models that you just bought at the game store. And yeah, going to like some sort of thrift store and buying a bunch of models. And you can rattle cans prime them if you want, but you can also even a brush on primer. Army Painter makes a great brush on primer. If you buy the Army Painter starter box, the starter set, the Army Painter, excuse me, websites here, Fanatic Starter. This is the set to buy, just straight up. Anybody who's thinking about getting into painting, this is the set to buy. It is $43.19, which is slightly random, but what are you going to do? And it comes with a white and a black, which you need both of those. Comes with the brush on gray primer. Comes with 2 metallics, a silver and a gold. Comes with blue, brown, red, yellow, green, and a wash, strong tone, which is kind of a brown wash. It also includes a brush, and it also includes a miniature. So literally all you need is a cup of water, and everything else is included in this box. So, yeah, I think it's a good idea. And if people are looking for this type of thing, your local store, if they sell Army Painter, probably has these in stock. So I would definitely take a look there. But yeah, comes with, and also comes with the painting guide. I just had a painting guide. Where the heck did that go? Oh, right here. So this is also really awesome. Hang on, I gotta go back to the main screen. So yeah, it comes with one of these. This is the Army Painter painting guide, which goes through and tells you about like so much stuff. You know, like it tells you about well, I mean, first of all, it's just got pictures of people doing fun stuff and having a great time. And then it talks about the different types of paints and things like that. But it also talks about, like, once you get through, like, this sort of, frankly, like, hey, look, this is a bunch of stuff we sell and you would probably like it. They go through and start by making a plan, learning color theory, metallics, and then talking about basing and talking about, you know, how to assemble your models and all that kind of stuff. And what kind of glue you might want to use and how to prime them and like stick them on a painting stick and spray them outside or whatever, and like all that kind of stuff. Like there's so much information in this booklet, and a lot of stores that sell Army Painter stuff will just have this to give away for free, but it also comes in pretty much every box that they sell of like the starters and all that other stuff. So it's also a great place to start as well. Let's see here. My one strong opinion in all this, don't make a product such a part of your identity that you fall into tribalism with competing products. Yes, that's also very true. Don't let yourself be dog walked by a corpo. Very good. I like that a lot, actually, yeah. Now, that being said, I am thinking about starting my third playthrough of Cyberpunk 2077, and I'm thinking about trying the Corpo. I've already done the Nomad one, and I've done the Street Kid one, and now I think it maybe is time for me to start a new walkthrough and do it in the Corpo. But that doesn't make me a Corpo, technically, I guess. I've heard that modern Brussels sprouts have been altered to get a better taste. I mean, it makes a sense because they were sort of gross when I was a kid. I definitely for that. I got the Lances of the Crimson Keep for Christmas. What should I get next for the army? I don't. What is that? Do we know? I got the Lances of the Crimson Keep for Christmas. I don't even know what game system that's for. I'm sorry. I don't. I don't know what that is. Sorry. I've seen so many Magic, Pokemon, and even Wargamers bragging about how cheap they got their stuff from another store or online at my FLGS. If register doesn't ding, there's no place to play. And that's the thing. That's the case. Like if you like, I did a video a long time ago about like, well, what do you do when your friendly wargaming or your friendly local game store isn't friendly? And there were people in that who were like, well, why would I support them if they're terrible people? And I'm like, well, why would you go in there and play if they're terrible people? Like you know, that if you don't like a store, I'm not saying you have to support it, but if you like a store and you go there all the time and play and breathe up their air and use their toilets and stuff like that, but you don't ever buy anything there, eventually they will close. Then you'll be screwed. You won't have a place to play. That's just kind of the way it works. And it's interesting how that disconnect comes. But yeah, you're exactly right. You know, if you don't support your FLGS, but you go there all the time and use up their space, well, I got some bad news for you. It's going to go away. If a store lets you play games that they don't sell, they could see that there's a good level of local interest for that game, maybe begin stocking it. Also true. Also true. Like if you start showing up and like you're growing a group of people who are playing Infinity, for example, well, maybe they should start stocking some Infinity starters or whatever. You know what I mean? Like that's a thing. Again, that's that game advocacy thing. Because you can, that's the thing. When you walk into, there are certain stores you walk into, like at least in this country and probably overseas as well. You walk into a store and you're just expecting everyone to be playing 40K, and everyone there is playing War Machine, let's say, as an example. And you're like, yeah, we don't really play 40K here. I mean, there's 40K stuff, but no, the War Machine, that's the jam. And you're like, I don't know anybody who plays War Machine where I live, and it's all because you get these pockets that happen, and it's more often than not because like a person is like, I love War Machine. I'm going to teach this guy to play War Machine, and then he's going to teach that guy, and then I'm going to teach this other guy, and then eventually you just build a community, right? But it comes from a person generally, or sometimes it could come from a store. Someone at the store could just be like, I love this game, I think we should push it, and then cool. But in most situations, most stores, because again, most stores are dancing as fast as they can, because the same person who runs the store and owns the store also has to buy the stuff for the store and has to put the stuff on the shelves and has to clean the bathrooms and has to order more sodas. And it's like a one person, endeavor. They also then just go, I'm going to put 40K on the store on the shelves because I know it'll move, and they can't take the time to go, well, I should explore into, burrows and badgers and the rest of the Osprey, genre. I don't even, is burrows and badgers Osprey or is it Modiphius? I can't remember, but you know what I'm saying. The reason you see the same game over and over and over again in stores is because it does have a tendency to sell. It's just the way it works. When you play in a store, you buy something from the store. This is why I have like 20 paint handles. Our local store sells drinks and snacks on top of paints, brushes, dice, and whatnot. As long as the game isn't bothering others, they allow pretty much any game. Just hope to sell something. Well, sure. And again, I think it's a smart move if you're like, well, I don't sell that game here in the store, but, maybe you guys will buy some paints and some brushes and some glue and a case to put your weird crap in or whatever. That's fine. Lord knows I don't need to buy any more models, but I'll always need new paint, brushes, glue, snacks. I mean, I'm going to need snacks and also glue and also paint. Well, generally I'm good on paint. Golden Rhino Games in Ysplanty, Michigan. I don't think I pronounced that first word right. I've heard it said before, but I don't remember it. But nonetheless, not only a great hobby store with a decent gaming table, but also has a fully functional cafe. That's pretty cool. All I can picture is the old games of Spectre VR. Ooh, yeah, yeah. You can deep fry anything. See, there you go. Eons of Battle is not kid friendly. Too often, Jay does not kid friendly stuff. Huh. I guess I haven't seen him ever do anything like that. Louise from Rogue Hobbies has a great video on getting your kids into painting. That makes sense. Yeah. Dinos usually have good texture. Also true. Very true. Yeah, yeah. Those plastic dinos usually have pretty good texture, which helps with like if you're using, learning how to use washes and stuff like that. Gaming buddy of 20 plus years got two of his buddies into Blackout, then me, then I got two of my buddies into it, and now we have a store group, but we didn't start with a store group. Yeah, that's the way to do it too, yeah. Let's see here. Excited to base my new Blackout forces on your sci-fi Grey Rebel scheme. I love the Rebel scheme that I do. It's so easy, and then all my models look the same as far as like their bases. So I could be like, I'm gonna grab this guy, and this guy, and they're a new group, and I'm playing some weird game, but all their bases match. So, hooray for me, folks! It's after 11 over here. I've been yammering on, and I'm sorry. So, thanks to coming by, and thanks for dealing with this weird mic issue. I'm gonna try to figure out how to fix it before the next show, and I'll hopefully figure it out. But that's the trick. Maybe make sure if you're going to do a live stream, update your software after the live stream, not before. That was dumb on my part. So I'll figure it out. But thanks to everybody for coming by today and hanging out and chatting. And if you're a person who's interested in Blackout, go take a look at their website. I think it's BLKOUT game.com. I think that's right. But if you Google it, you'll find it. And then, yeah, take a look at it if you're interested. And we'll see you back here again in 2 weeks. And have yourself a good time and get some hobby done if you can, if you get the chance. And if you don't, it's okay. Don't beat yourself up about it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching.